All right, guys. So thank you. For both of you, I've known you guys for years. As a hotel supplies company, I've just switched on the light probably after probably 3 weeks, just to be in this interview. You guys are at home. I've come to work because I'm bored at home, to be completely honest. We are in this situation, which you guys obviously are equally affected. One as a entrepreneur and one as a operator who's been doing this for years and years. And I think for all three of us, we've never faced this. So going on a lighter note, Stefan, what are you doing now? Do you get to cook more often? Do you take that as a challenge? Were you cooking that often while you were working all these years? How is it going?
Well, I'm usually the one cooking at home, so it didn't change much for me. What I did during this time is actually take the hand on myself and get back on track of being healthy, losing weight, exercising, and clearing my mind. Actually, it made me realize, because we've been a while home, and at the beginning I was still working home office, and then I had to take holiday and some public holiday. So it made me realize actually that it's been over 2 years that I didn't have holiday, and I was actually quite run down, and I let myself go and everything, and I was not in a good point in terms of my health, I would say, and this was a good opportunity to put it back together. So I started doing this, and then I'm cooking. I'm experimenting with my bread making, my pizza making, and different stuff, because this is not much to do. Yeah.
Chef, and I think for 15, 18 years I've been calling you chef. How, in terms of when you go back, when things, and I certainly believe that there's definitely going to be a comeback for all of us in all our industries. Are there any guidelines and standards that you're working on now to implement in the kitchen, in the front of the house, back of the house, to consider look at safety? Now, obviously, safety was something where you're looking at HACCP and things like these that you've worked on. And now coming in, there's a new Covid-19, or how do you stay?
Well,
what are you working on?
Definitely. It is some hygiene standard that we will implement. So increase of cleaning frequency in the front and back of the house, sanitation procedure that will become part of the routine in the restaurant, enforcement of cleaning and sanitizing of fruit and vegetable, which is something already in practice, but now I think people will realize that it's even more important. But also the sanitizing of everything that comes to the door. So also the boxes and the cartons that will be delivered and that need to be stored in the original packaging. This will have to be, we'll implement a procedure to be sanitized before we enter the premises. Yeah, I mean, things like I would say 100 years ago when it was this plague with a woman that was delivering, and within 48 hours they were dying, and all the doctor and scientists couldn't figure out why. And one guy said, and what happened is, in the afternoon they were delivering the baby, and in the morning they were examining those women that died to try to figure out what did they die from the delivery. And one guy realized actually because those guys were doing the autopsy, and then in the afternoon they were doing the delivery, and they were not washing their hands in between. And once they implement the hand washing, then this plague stopped. And it's the same principle. I mean, hand washing is not something new, something in a kitchen that we implement. Myself, I always had a system where we had clock in every kitchen that ring every 30 minutes. And when the clock rings, people need to wash their hands. But we realize that it's not automatic. If you don't have a system, you have a lot of people that have a tendency not to wash their hands. And today people realize that actually washing your hands more often is it's important. And again, this will be reinforced because it is one of the most how we say, easy to carry something. The fact that you don't wash your hands. Yeah.
Now, Adam, when it comes down to you being here, and I know that you had business going on not only just in this part of the world, but also in South Africa and other countries. How's it impacted you in the business now? What has changed for us?
I mean, obviously, there has been quite drastic change. I'm trying to remain positive because that's something I've been practicing since day one. But I anticipated that this was going to happen. It happened within 48 hours of a certain memo. I knew that I could expect certain emails from, if not the majority, all of my clients, and those emails came simultaneously within the hour. The next day. So and those emails obviously read, unfortunately, we're stopping our current contract, our arrangement, our retainer until further foreseeable notice. And thank you very much for your understanding. So that was obviously all I can do is be understanding of the situation and plan accordingly. But yes, in a nutshell, actually, as a small business owner, I have two companies. One is a food and beverage consultancy company, more of an emphasis on the bar side of things, and a small events company, which is the supply of entertainment, mainly to the F&B sector. So both of my clients, I'm primarily hospitality, which is all stopped. So I can't supply the dancers to the clubs or the hostesses to the restaurants or the bartenders to the bars, and I can't come in and do hands-on training as a consultant with bartenders in the bars. So my gross income is zero at the moment. But in the same breath, I quickly realized I had to do something. I can't sit around on my hands, and just hope for the best, or plan for the worst. But
is my next question. In terms of how you coping up, how you encouraging other businesses to cope up with the coronavirus.
So, I mean, myself, I'm quite. I think like any business owner, or anyone who holds responsibility, isn't a line employee who has no choice but to wait for their work to reopen. Someone who a decision maker whose actions create revenue, be it for their business or for somebody else's. I believe it's very important to be forward thinking, and of course, for our own sanity, we need to be organized. And I'm practicing a 9 till 5 daily. Well, it's more of a 9 to 8 p.m., but that's just my nature. Work week in the week, and then weekends I'm being quite strict with myself. And whereas I would normally work on the weekend, I'm typically not. So I'm spending that time with my family and cooking and channeling the things that I don't often get to do and enjoying them, as Stefan said. But my advice would be is in the time you do have, set some aims, some targets. For example, I have in the last 3 weeks I created a new business. I spent a week on it, tirelessly working until early hours of the morning. I was obsessed with it because I knew that the quicker I finished this platform, this business model, and got it out to potential clients, the quicker I would get feedback, the quicker I could potentially enter an arrangement, be it during this time, which is a possibility and part of the business model, or post this time, with the aim that the services provided would have longevity and it's not just a short-term solution. And that business is essentially a delivery service. And there's lots of them. This has a unique positioning, and I can't say too much at the moment, but it is prosperous, and it's channeling my skill set and my experience with what's needed in the market, especially now during this time. It was actually needed before, but due to legalities and maybe the ease of being able to go out into existing restaurants, it was never really created.
Right.
Now, obviously, I don't want to hinder the pattern of going out, because that also has a direct implication on my business and my services. But it's desperate times, and this is just a way to keep the money coming in and being able to survive and pay employees and pay rent. It's an anxious time, and I think if we just keep engaged and stay as positive as possible, when it can be hard, I think that goes a long way. And my advice would be to any business owner, small or big, it's just to remain positive and just be cautious of the decisions that you're making and the kind of tone of voice that you're taking. I'm getting lots of advice from people, businessmen and women in much higher positions than me and much more established businesses than me, and I'm taking that on board, and it's registering, and I'm also giving advice to other small businesses, and we're having lots of interesting conversations. I'm not sure if that answered the question entirely, but I'm also, as an F&B guy, also working on new ideas for new F&B concepts. So to
Exactly.
support
My
the
question
industry.
was, how do you, if there's a tomorrow, I know tomorrow is not going to be tomorrow. If tomorrow is a announcement that everything is back to normal, let's start business. Are you guys ready?
We're certainly ready. I mean, we essentially we see our contracts that are on hold, and hopefully, fingers crossed. It's hard to say right now, but hopefully, once these big restaurants, we work with 5-star hotels and huge operations that they rely on their reputation of great food, great drink, great entertainment, and we supply those things to them. So yes, they may so go and look at cheaper alternatives after this due to budget restrictions, but at the same time, we're already anticipating to say, okay, we understand it's a hard time, and we may not be able to go back to what we was doing or the scope that we once had, but however, we'd still love to work with you, and we're ready, and we'll do what it takes within reason, so.
Thank you. Chef Stefan, what about you? Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready. We are ready. I mean, so far, us as a company, all our property are closed, apart the hotel we have in France that is still running at the moment. All our other property are closed. The seasonal property, the one in Bodrum that was supposed to open 4 or 5 days back, now we delay the opening to probably June, but depending on what's happening, potentially this property won't open. And the property that we have here, that is also seasonal, that should open in 3 weeks. Now we delay the opening to July, and we'll see what happens. But we kept so far all our employees. So if tomorrow we have to open any of our hotel, it's a matter to a phone call away to put everything back into gear. Yeah. So we are ready to put back everything in motion.
Perfect.
The question is how we will go back in motion, and the concern is, I think many companies around the world went in panic mode and start sending employee away, canceling contracts, and the problem is, when the business is coming back, what are those companies going to do?
Yeah, fantastic. Chef Adam, thank you. I think in place of where I am, being a hotel supplies company, I think what we have learned um, so far is obviously there's no business. I think we all are in the same industry, but I think for me the learning is the online company, which I had started 2 years back, and then I wanted to put a full stop to it. Um, thank God I did not. I think that has taken shape. So we are getting some online orders, and it's a learning for us to say that I think the trend is moving in that direction where people would want to have limit their contact where they can. Obviously, the industry is hospitality industry is where people meet people. It is all about the service, all about the concept of people buying from people. And on that note, I'll end this. Adam, Chef, I think you guys are one of those people who I've been in touch with, and we'll all grow old together and stay in touch. Thank you for.
Yeah.
All I say is thank you. Stay safe and stay well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Stay safe too.
obviously, do let us know. I'm happy to support both of you in any way, be it via social media or any way possible or within reason. So if there's anything that comes to mind that maybe I can support with,
Absolutely.
I'm here.